Hi, ladies. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you prepare to interview with the hiring manager. So that looks a bit different than interviewing with a recruiter. So the hiring manager's focus is not only on understanding what your qualifications are, but again, just trying to figure out, if you are a good fit for the position, because she's the person who's going to be sitting next to you every day. Maybe not physically, but your performance directly impacts hers or his. So they want to make sure that you're absolutely the right person. So I'm going to share a couple things to help you prepare that will help you feel like a better fit when you go into interview with that hiring manager. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to check LinkedIn. Yes, I know you're not really using LinkedIn, but I want you to go to LinkedIn and I want you to do a search and figure out if that person is on LinkedIn. Once you find them on LinkedIn, your whole goal is to see if you can discover points of common interest with the hiring manager. So at a minimum, you're going to see where they've worked in the past. You want to know where they went to school and got their degree. You want to look at their posts. Like at a minimum, those are the three things that you want to look at. And you want to just get a clue whether or not there are any, like I said, common points of interest, because you may have an opportunity to bring that up in the interview. And that is one of the things that helps you feel like a good fit to another human being, AKA the hiring manager. So you want to just see if there's anything that you already have been able to identify that you have in common with the hiring manager. The second thing that you want to be prepared to do when you're interviewing with the hiring manager is not only prepare your answers and your stories for your qualifications, which is important, by the way, but you also want to curate some stories that are specific to you and are interesting about you. And the reason why this is so important is because imagine if you're the hiring manager and you're interviewing, let's say over the course of a week, like 15 people. That's a lot, but I'm just saying it's not unheard of, right? So if you're interviewing as a hiring manager, all these people, how do you begin to remember like who is who? And I know it might sound like, Lisa, really, but trust me, after about the fourth person, you're just like, who did I interview? So your interesting story connected to how you would make a good employee or a good fit for the position is one of the strategies that you can use to have the employer remember who you are. Now, I've recently just gone through a series of interviews, and one of the stories I told was, when they asked me to, walk me, I think they asked me, Lisa, can you walk us through your experience or your background? It was one of those questions. And I started off by saying, well, one of the things that's not on my resume is that I used to be Sergeant Jackson. And so I told them about clearly and quickly and succinctly how I was in the military for almost 10 years. I was a non-commissioned officer. Part of my duties were to train my soldiers as well as other non-commissioned officers, and that's how I fell in love with training, right? And so they were so excited to hear that. I learned that my director, they hired me, by the way, so that's why I'm saying she's mine, but my director's family was a military family, and so we were able to connect around that. But even if we weren't able to connect around that, a week later, if they were really interested in me, even if they couldn't remember my name, they could remember that I was the girl who started off in the military. So that's why it's important to share those interesting stories and then connect them to the work that you're going to do, or talk about how they affect or inform who you are as a person right now. And then the last thing that I want to just share with you in terms of the preparation piece, ladies and gentlemen, you need to ask the right questions. So there's a lot of conventional wisdom out there about, when you get to that point in the interview where they say, well, do you have any questions for me? I see a lot of what I call fluff questions. I can remember being a staffing manager back in the day, and I would ask, well, do you have any questions about the position or any questions, from me or for me? And people would ask just the weirdest, can you tell me the, direction that the company is going to be going in over the next 5 years, and how that, you guys, I'm sorry. I have a 22-year-old cat and she's meowing. I'm so sorry if you can hear that. But anyway, as a staffing manager, I can just remember people asking these completely insane questions, and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, how am I gonna respond to this question? That is not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to ask the right questions, and the purpose of asking those questions, and I have notes here, you guys, so I'm just looking at my notes. So the purpose of asking the right questions is so that you can understand before you leave that interview how you can bring value to the team. And I'm going to share with you why that's important. So the type of questions that you want to formulate should be around what the hiring manager values most in terms of a skill set, traits and personality around the job title that you're applying for. You also want to formulate questions around what are their top goals for the upcoming quarter or for the upcoming year. You want to understand what the top initiatives are that are coming up or that they're currently involved in. Now, the reason why you want to know the answers to these questions is one, so from your perspective, once you know that, when it's time for you to negotiate your salary, you now can summarize what the hiring manager said out of their own mouth to indicate what's important to them. And then you can summarize how you can help them reach the goals that they want to reach. So it's all about really kind of digging down, finding out what's important to that manager, and then using that to summarize how you can help them reach their goals in terms of, asking for the salary you want. The other thing that it does is it serves to set you apart from other job seekers, because most of them don't really have the guts to dig down like that. And you don't want to make this like a 25-minute grilling session, but you want to have 3 to 4 really great questions that helps kind of dig out what's important to that hiring manager. And if you ask your first question and you feel like you have hit the mother lode and they just give you one of those answers where they're sharing everything, then you're good to go. But have 3 to 4 questions prepared just in case you need to ask some additional questions. So when it comes to preparing to interview with the hiring manager, you want to be prepared with the right questions to dig out what's important to them. You also want to have prepared interesting stories about you and how whatever that story is about makes you a better insert whatever job title you're applying for. And then the next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you've checked LinkedIn to see if there are any areas where you guys have common interest. And if the occasion arises where you can mention that, you want to feel free to mention that. The last thing I need to tell you about LinkedIn really quickly is it's kind of expected that as professionals, we all go to LinkedIn to kind of check each other out. If it happens to come up in the interview, don't feel weird about it. Just say, of course I checked you out. I totally wanted to know, a little bit more about you, and just tell them, I just wanted to know if we had any points of common interest, and, stop talking. So don't make that a thing. It's really not. So I just want to make sure I shared that with you. Guys, this video is twice as long as I meant it to be. Go out, have a great rest of your week, and I will see you